Welcome back to Next Gen Console Watch, our show following everything happening with the latest gaming hardware, and there is some stuff happening with the latest gaming hardware today. I'm Daemon Hatfield. As always, I'm joined by Max Scoville, host of IGN's PlayStation podcast, Podcast Beyond.
Hello, hello.
And Ryan McCaffrey, host of IGN's Xbox podcast, Podcast Unlocked.
Always a pleasure.
And what a couple weeks it's been for PlayStation. First, there's the whole Concord debacle, and now we finally know it's official. The PS5 Pro is real. And it's real expensive, and it's coming this November 7th to be exactly. So it costs $700, and it does not come with a disk drive or a vertical stand. What that $700 does get you is an upgraded GPU with 67% more compute units than the current PS5 console, 28% faster memory. Sony says this enables up to 45% faster rendering for gameplay, making the experience much smoother. They also said they've added more powerful ray tracing, and they're introducing PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution, which is an AI-driven upscaling tool, uses machine learning to provide super sharp image clarity. So that's it. That's the PS5 Pro. That's what the extra $200 gets you and doesn't get you. And right out the gate, I think the general consensus is that this thing just seems really expensive and isn't really solving a problem for anyone, considering the vast majority of PS5 games, either they can be played on a PS4. Star Wars Jedi Survivor, for example, comes to PS4 next week. And there just aren't a lot of titles that really seem to be taking full advantage of the PS5 that many of us have had for 4 years already now. So, Max, what was your initial reaction to the news about the PS5 Pro?
I think very much the same as everyone else, is that it's way too expensive. But the sort of caveat there is, I think for what the technology you're looking at, like, it's not too expensive, but it's more that they haven't given any reason to justify that technology. Again, like they showcased the ray tracing in Jedi Survivor, which was touted as a next-gen game, and literally next week it is coming to PS4. So it's kind of weird to be, showing off this PlayStation 5.5 by also being like, oh, and by the way, this game comes out to, 10, 12-year-old hardware next week. Yeah. Again, they didn't show us anything new in terms of games, which, again, this was a showcase of technology. They were showing off what their hardware can do. But the point of the device is to play games. And these are games a lot of people have already played, and sure, they look better, but these side-by-side comparisons are so granular that it really just doesn't, there's no wow factor here. It's very much, it feels like one of those, what's wrong with this picture? Can you spot 10 differences type of, children's magazine puzzles. No, I just, it's a drag, because I remember when the PlayStation 4 Pro came out, that the questions that was answering, or the problems that was fixing, was a lack of HDR and a lack of 4K support. In this case, the PS5 allegedly launched with 8K support, but nobody has an 8K TV, so that's sort of a non-issue. Apparently, they took the 8K logo off the launch model box. You won't find that on the Slim. The PS5 Pro can do 8K. They didn't even mention that because it's such a non-issue that no one's even looking ahead that far. The only like positive thing about this out the gate is that it's got a 2 terabyte hard drive, which is a substantial improvement over the, what is it,
880 gigs, right?
Yeah, it's heady, but again, for how much money it is, it really just feels like a big ask of consumers. It feels, I'm just going to say it. It feels like the announcement of the PS3 price, the infamous, you need to get a second job to buy this thing. This is Sony hubris at its finest, and it's extremely frustrating because when the PS4 Pro was shown off, I remember, and I maybe fact check me on this, but I remember that they, in addition to showing games we'd already seen in action, they also teased upcoming games, which was kind of like, oh, you want to play this new upcoming game? Well, here's a machine that's going to let you do it. This thing is obviously going to be great for playing games like GTA 6. That's a big one. Presumably, Insomniac's Wolverine will take great advantage of this new hardware, but we haven't seen anything of that game officially, unleaked at least. And Rockstar is definitely playing things close to the chest. We haven't seen anything of GTA in action since that one big reveal trailer. So, like, again, it's an impressive piece of hardware, I think, but it's just such a baffling, sort of just out of touch thing to announce right now.
Yeah, it could very well be that $700 price tag is reasonable for what it is, especially if you compared it to a PC that you could build for the same price. But like I was saying, it just doesn't seem to be solving any problem that anyone has already. So, why? Well, why would anybody want to upgrade? Although, Ryan, for Xbox's consideration, they can no longer say they have the world's most powerful console.
That is very true. Yeah, that is true. Although, look at the sales numbers. How much has that really done for them anyway?
Sure.
Granted, I think Xbox's problems weren't really and still aren't hardware. Their hardware power, their lack of high quality exclusive games, which that ship finally seems to be turning the corner. But yeah, this presentation, like the PS4 Pro and the Xbox Series X that came later. This time there doesn't seem to be an Xbox Series XX coming later. But at least with the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X, you had 4K. That was like this very tangible thing. Everybody was buying 4K TVs at that time. Their first 4K TV. It was a really obvious thing that you could point to and go, well, this console can run your games in 4K. Now, the PS5 Pro, it's just the benefits are so much further in the weeds that it's tough to pick them out. I mean, this presentation did not do a good job of selling the PS5 Pro, in my opinion. It basically amounted to Mark Cerny saying, well, stuff in the background is clearer and your frame rate's a little better. And then I was shocked that they gave the price at the end of this thing, because I was expecting 6. And then when we were talking, was it last week's episode or the one before, about the price increases on PlayStation in Japan? And I thought, okay, well, I guess 650 might be in play. I honestly was not expecting 7 at all. That 7 is, I did not think they would go there. So this was, it didn't sell this thing. And then when I sat with it more, my real concern, now I should caveat by saying, I am on record on this show saying that I will buy one of these specifically for GTA 6. I'm still going to do that. I'm going to trade in my PS5 for whatever a retailer will give me at the time to take a little bit of the sting out, because I just think GTA is going to be that special. I mean, GTA 5 was for me, but my bigger concern here isn't so much dunking on the $700 price, which it's getting dunked on today as we record the day that this announcement happened, and it should be dunked on. But my bigger concern is, what about the price expectation now for the actual next gen, the PlayStation 6,
great point,
and the next Xbox? Because I think now the floor is 700. And I know people on Twitter pointed back to, well, the PS3 was 600, and then we walked back down the price ladder from there. The PS3, I think, was an outlier. It was the cell processor, Sony's whole in-house custom chip. These are just PCs now. So the architecture is different. The marketplace is different. But when we can look at what history tells us, the PS4 Pro was 400 when it launched. Then the PS5 came along at 500. The Xbox One X, which came a year after the PS4 Pro, the One X was 500, and then the Series X launched at 500 as well. So neither one went in the downward direction from mid-gen refresh to the proper next-gen. So I don't see Xbox Next or PlayStation 6 being less than $700, and they could be more. And so that's the scarier piece of this as far as console gaming goes. Now, you have to give Microsoft some credit here for, as much as it gets dunked on and hated on, the Series S is kind of looking better every day. Yes, it's limited horsepower wise, but it at least offers a reasonably priced entry point into this generation of console games, which Sony is not currently offering. And we'll see if either one of them offers something like that in the next generation. But as far as if you want sort of the high end console for next gen, when we get an official start to the next gen, we're probably looking at $700 plus for it. And that's without it. That'll be without a disc drive, although maybe by then none of us will really care. But it's kind of a chilling precedent to set here, I think.
Well, on the flip side, will you need one for a while? because, on the one hand, this could be a PS5 Pro, or it could be a PS6 Series S, if it's sort of this stopgap mid-range thing. The fact that they demonstrated this system by showing gameplay of a lot of games that are out on PS4 doesn't really sell a PS5 Pro, let alone a PS5. It's kind of saying, hey, if you haven't jumped on this console generation quite yet, you're not really missing out that much. And again, we see so many things cross-gen. They showed off the ray tracing in Hogwarts Legacy. If you don't care about ray tracing, you can play that game on Switch. It's a it's a non-issue. To the price point discussion too, like the fact that everyone is coming out of this just agape at the fact that it is $700 or €800. It is so expensive, even if it is a good value for what you're getting in terms of actual hardware. There is no other conversation people are having. No one is like, wow, but this thing is pretty cool. To say that the improvements are in the weeds, they are literally in the weeds. They are in the nosebleeds. Yes. They are details in the crowd. This is for people who cannot see the forest for the trees and really want to be able to see the trees better because they have been AI upscaled so that the leaves have better anti-aliasing or whatever. Like, it's such a specific, granular improvement, or at least that's what it looks like in terms of how they're showcasing it, that it doesn't necessitate itself at all. Again, this is a new video game system that's really powerful. We're all nerds. We're all gamers. That's the stuff that gets us excited. I don't see anyone excited about this for any reason. Like, Mark Cerny seems like the most excited person about this, which is, again, kind of a drag. Because, like, I want to be excited. Yeah. I would love it if I was not feeling sour grapes, or if I was feeling sour grapes about this. I'd love to try to justify myself why I don't need to spend $700, but I feel like they kind of did that for me, because until we see like a really cool cutting edge game that has a substantial better performance on this, and I'm sure Digital Foundry is going to tear this thing apart and be like, here's how much more awesome games look on this thing. That's cool, but also, like, is that a deal breaker? Do games need to look that good? Is the problem with gaming right now the fact that you cannot see the little Lombaxes in the nosebleed section of the parade bleachers in Ratchet and Clank, which came out 4 years ago? Or is it the fact that games take 8 years to make and they can't sustain themselves? Like, I feel like there's this sort of arms race for having the most powerful hardware, but that's not what creates good games. If anything, that trying to make sure that you can see all of, like, Aloy's pores is what makes it so that it's takes so much longer for games to come out. And ultimately, like, I don't know, I think people would be perfectly happy with games. Well, people would still complain about it. They'd say you can't see the reflections in the Hogwarts dining hall floor or whatever. They get mad about the puddles in Spider-Man. But the actual gamer, a lot of people just play stuff on their phone. It's a non-issue. I don't know. It's a drag. Like, it makes me really kind of worried about the state of what PlayStation has moving forward, because it is such a sort of a, hubristic, it's the Homer, the car built for Homer. Like, it's such a completely like just pretentious, expensive thing to show off. Be like, we made this and this is why you need it. And it's, I want to feel like I need it, but I don't. And that's just, yeah.
Well, and to your point earlier, Max, about sort of Sony's software situation, the timing of this is not good, because they, by their own admission, they have nothing really coming from first party for a while.
Yep. So
if they had, I'm sure Sony asked Rockstar and begged and pleaded, can we, like, would the reception of this today had been any different if there were a 10-second clip of GTA 6 running on the PS5 Pro? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe the sticker shock still overwhelms it, but, or a 10-second clip of Wolverine, either or both. But yeah, this coupled with the very, very dry desert of first-party gaming that PlayStation is facing right now is it's a tough combination for the look of this thing, for the optics on it, for sure.
Yeah, we have some early data already that gamers are going to be hesitant to jump on board with the PS5 Pro. A poll that's running on IGN right now with already has 26,000 votes at the time of this taping. Is the PS5 Pro reasonably priced? 74% say it's way too expensive. 3/4 of respondents say it's way too expensive. We should also mention that $700, no disk drive, no vertical stand. If you want to play your disc games, if you want to, use it vertically, this monstrosity of a console, now you're talking about over $800 for the system. As a side note, I have a question. I have a launch PS5 with a disc. If I bought the Pro, I just can't play my disc games, right? Unless I buy this accessory, right?
Right. Exactly.
I mean,
or buy the add-on disc drive.
And also, if you trade in your launch PS5 with the disc drive, you have to buy the disc drive again separately.
Yep.
So that stings extra right there.
Yeah, there's just I don't really see any incentive. I don't think Sony's giving people much of a reason to buy this. When I look at those side-by-side comparisons in their presentation, I don't see a $200 difference in those versions of those games. We also have a poll running. Simply, will you buy a PS5 Pro? Up to 14,000 votes as of this taping. 70% say no, it's too expensive. So, what do we think? This thing comes out November 7th. You think? I think it goes up for pre-order later this month. Max, are they going to sell out of the PS5 Pro?
I mean, that depends how many they're making. The PS4
know
Pro, I think that's sold about the same as the Wii U, which doesn't seem great numbers wise, but it's also building on the existing user base of PS4, so it all kind of gets lumped together there. The other thing is they could have, even if they weren't selling PS5 Pros, I feel like if the PS5 had gotten a price cut today, that would have sold some PS5s.
Good point too.
We didn't get that. I'm sure they will find a good way of fudging the numbers. I mean, they told us the PSVR 2 outsold the predecessor. What does that mean? Yeah. I mean, I guess it did, but is that thing doing well? Is that alive and kicking? The PlayStation Portal was apparently a hit. Apparently it did better than they expected. Anecdotally, everybody I know who got one of those really likes it. It's pretty cool. I kind of came around on it too. But it's also like if it's like a niche product for like a very select audience, then yeah, I mean the demand should exceed your supply. As far as this being something to wake up at 6 o'clock on a weekday for to catch the big reveal, it's just this could have been a blog post,
Mm-hmm.
I think there will be an initial spike of sales on launch day for just that contingent of early adopters that just want it no matter what, or maybe some people that are still on a PS4 or PS4 Pro that haven't bought a PS5 yet that have decided, okay, yep, it's a lot, but this will be my entry into the PS5 generation. And then I think sales will completely flatline until GTA 6 gets a firm release date. And then that's when I'll jump in. That's when I'll trade mine in. I think there'll be a spike. Then again, I don't know how relatively high that spike would be, but relative to where sales will normally be. And then after that, your guess is as good as mine. I think it's just going to be, there's going to be 2 waves of demand for this. And whether there's more than those 2 at this price point is anybody's guess.
Well, it'll be very interesting to see what happens when this launches in just about a couple months now. Very, very expensive new hardware, possibly setting a scary precedent for what actual next-gen consoles are going to cost, and not really giving a whole lot of reason why anyone would need it. But there are a lot of PlayStation fans out there, so we'll see what happens.
I guess they don't have to worry about Osborning sales of the PS5 by announcing this 2 months before it comes out, because I don't think anybody's gonna pass over a PS5 to wait for the $700 version.
But viewers, we want to know what you feel about all this. We do have these 2 polls up. We're going to keep those polls up on IGN.com all week. Is the PS5 Pro reasonably priced, and will you buy a PS5 Pro? Make sure your voice is heard. Vote at IGN.com sometime this week. And that's going to do it for this edition of Next Gen Console Watch. Very exciting times recently. We have lots of exciting stuff to talk about. Thank you to both Ryan and Max. Thank you to everyone working behind the scenes to make this episode possible here in our LA studio. My name is Daemon. We'll be back next week with the latest gaming hardware news. We'll see you then.